Hello and welcome back to my channel, and we're back into Metro Exodus. Now this time it's the enhanced edition, and I see people are playing this game still, and there's quite a debate in regard best settings. Should you go with DLSS, should you play on lower resolutions, and so on and so forth. So before we jump in, let's just see what the game requires in terms of hardware. So the minimum requirement is an RTX 2060, and recommended GPU supposedly is RTX 2070. So when it comes to our GPU, obviously we have 4070 Ti. And here's the thing, right? So let's go over the settings real quick. We're going with the 4K native, quality on extreme, no vertical sync, motion blur on low, obviously. Ray tracing on ultra, no DLSS, reflections ray traced. VRS is off because that's variable rate shading essentially. We don't need that. Hairworks are off because in my opinion there's not too much hair in this game. Only during some cutscenes, maybe on the later levels after the Volga you might see some hair somewhere, but it's pretty much like a Witcher setting. You can turn it on if you want, but in Witcher at least you have hairs around. Advanced physics are on, tessellation is on, field of view is cranked, and shading rate is 0.5. And this is the big difference in regards performance, or should we call it free performance, right? If you don't like DLSS because you think that the image downscaling causes blurriness, the picture looks a little bit gloomy, there's not enough sharpness, and you can't adjust the DLSS sharpness, and you think, well, it's just not working for me. Without turning on variable rate shading, which actually will help to an extent, give or take, you can actually just lower the shading rate. By default, this shading rate is set to 1. If you half it, it's actually going to render the certain textures in smaller resolution. So it's not going to be 4K, it's going to be less. But what you're also going to get is literally half of FPS boost. So if I actually run this game full ray traced with no DLSS, with shading rate at 1, my average frame rate will be between 55 and 62. If I turn it to 0.5 essentially, let's have a quick look how it's gonna go, and you guys can actually just take a look for yourself and tell me if you notice anything out of ordinary. Any glitches, anything at all, and how it all looks for you, because honestly, I'll be surprised. Let's have a look. Obviously, MSI Afterburner upper left, just so you guys can see a better picture here. Right, so here we are. So what do we actually have? Literally above 60 frames. We're pulling 7.6 gigs of allocated video memory, 9 gigs of RAM. Well, the FOV kind of looks a little bit weird when it's cranked to the brim, but in all honesty, once you get to the picturesque locations or levels, you will actually appreciate it slightly bit more. But honestly, and this is just coming from a person who's played this game extensively. I played Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, Redux, Exodus, and also obviously the Enhanced Edition. And I cannot stress this enough. When people go for native resolutions and native settings, everything's cranked up to the brim. Honestly, the graphical fidelity you're gonna get in that game, unless you know specifically what you're looking for. If I didn't show you these settings, you would probably go like, wait, how is this possible? Because in all honesty, I actually tried this game with a shading rate of 0.4, and I can't tell them apart. Like, when it comes in comparison to the Metro Exodus and Metro Exodus Enhanced, the emphasis is on ray tracing. And when it comes to the ray tracing parts, on the light sources and how it all hits everything else, particle effects, unless you have a side-by-side comparison where you can clearly see the difference, it's not gonna change much. Like literally, when it comes to VRS or variable rate shading, that's gonna change certain things like the cobwebs going up in flames and so on and so forth. It's not exactly required for your day-to-day activities in a game. But I'll be damned if I tell you that this does not look good at all. Literally, look at all this. And this is absolutely playable, and there's no DLSS involved. So why would you want to go down the DLSS route for balanced or performance, which is gonna downscale the game? It's gonna introduce a little bit of latency. There's no latency. Look at this. None. Zero. How I move my mouse, it's all there. You wanna get that perfect headshot, you can do it. Like literally. I don't understand. So when people who are playing this game, I wouldn't want to say religiously, right? But who put a lot of hours in this game, you know, achievement hunters. Just regular people just chilling, just vibing in a game. Sometimes for me it's a little bit hard to understand the gatekeeping, because at which point this game now looks worse than it looked before? Like, let's be real here. I mean, I do get it that, you know, you kind of want to have the best settings possible everywhere at all times and stuff like this, but if you decrease the visual eye candy for yourself by changing settings from extreme to anything below to retain the frame rate, why would you not want to compromise in regards just slightly less in-game render resolution for certain textures, while still retaining exactly the same lighting effects and everything else that actually gives you this eye candy? I mean, you know, it's just an open question. You know, I'm not saying that that's the wrong way to go about it. I'm a very firm believer in DLSS when it comes to it. Majority of the games that I play, I don't usually tinker with the graphical settings. I kind of leave everything on ultra and I just adjust DLSS if I'm streaming or just playing for myself. But in general, I mean, come on. All of this looks absolutely glorious. And as I said, if I didn't show you guys that I actually adjusted the shading rate below ×1, you probably wouldn't even know. And that's the most important thing. If you can't tell the difference without me calling it out, you're probably not gonna notice the difference yourself. And this is native 4K resolution recording as well, so I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Open for that. Now we're gonna quickly fast forward through these cutscenes, through the hospital, out on a tower with Anna, overlooking the city. We're gonna go through because RTX and ray tracing better works actually in secluded areas, you know, with some light sources. So we're gonna do that first, and we're gonna go from there, really.
Looks like Artyom's been on another one of these mad trips up top. Where to now? Left, across the square. Hey, Damir, do you think the Colonel knows what Artyom been up to here? How am I supposed to know? Ask him yourself. He radioed from the rig, said he'd be here tomorrow. Hey, you, leave him alone. I killed him myself with my slingshot. Let him learn to stand up for himself. How else can he hope to survive in the metro? Rise and shine, people! Hang in there, Artyom. You're gonna get a fresh dose of Spartan blood now.
Artyom, are you awake? It's okay. The doctor said you'll be fine. Are you trying to kill me with worry? What if next time you don't return from the surface? There's no one out there, Artyom. No one to find, no one to talk to. If there was, don't you think they'd be here already? We've talked about this again and again. You have to accept it. There's only us.
Colonel. Hello, Alex. There you are, you stubborn fool. How many times are we going to have this conversation? I don't care if you kill yourself over this silly dream of yours. But don't you see what you're doing to my daughter? Your wife?
Dad, please.
The Order is short on men after the battle for D6. But you leave. People need you, and you pursue your selfish obsession. But now this shit has to stop. There's only Metro, nothing else. And the Order is here to defend it. Because if not us, then who? You look fine to me. So, get ready to go. Then, we'll discuss your transfer to Polis. Come, we need to talk.
I'll get the doctor. Artyom, please, promise me this was the last time. I'll see you later.
Artyom, we managed to bring you back from the brink, but people are giving you their blood, which could save so many wounded, and you keep bringing it back irradiated. Don't you think that is unfair? Let me put it this way. I can't promise I'll be able to bring you back next time.
Right, so since we're out here, let's have a look at this location because there's quite a few light sources and we can play around with them. So considering that the ray tracing is on ultra and everything is actually ray traced, all the shadows, all the light, all of this, I honestly don't see anything different from actually playing this with a higher shade rate than I used to, because in general there is a cap how good this game can actually look, and this is something I guess people kind of trying to push the envelope really a little bit harder than they should, because end of the day, if you replay this game about 3 or 4 times like I've done and a lot of other people, you know, achievement hunting or doing anything else in between, I honestly think you will be very hard pressured to notice anything different unless you are looking for very specific things, very specific interactions and very specific cutscenes or scenery in general. And honestly, I would say HDR probably will give you a bit more eye candy than just the regular game, because this game does cap out on graphics, you know, there's not an Obtainium level like in the new Pandora Frontier where you can just crank it up and it's there. This game, this is as good as it gets, honestly. So let's just get through all of this. And as you can see, even with the variable rate, or the shading rate actually reduced to 0.5, we're kind of barely above 60 frames. I do expect it to drop below, but luckily this is a cutscene, not a real, you know, interaction. So you can just observe all the lightning effects around, on the ceiling, on their hair, on their faces, all the shadow dance. I mean, let's be real here, like, why would you stress out your GPU for something, or specifically if you're against DLSS, and you think there's some hiccups and some latency, like, try this out. You probably are not gonna be, you know, disappointed, really, I would say. So now we're gonna be 1 week later, finally on a rooftop with Anna. She's gonna give me a earful. We're gonna go down and see how it all looks in open world.
More of nothing? Artyom, the only thing I can hear is that Geiger counter ticking. Why, yes, and there's also those damn things. Calling all the time. Let's go home, dear, please. Don't you think I'd also love to live on an ocean beach or in a green forest? But what good are these fantasies in a silent world? Silent, Artyom? Because it's dead. We took our time. Time to replace our filters.
So, while she's going away, so we don't have to listen to her, look at this. The game literally looks glorious, and we're actually racking up 100 frames right now. I mean, it's very hard for me to actually find something to nitpick at this point, because everything's there. You can see the clouds are going, you know, kind of in front of the sun. The scenery slightly changes with the shadows dancing up and down, you know, stuff like this. And that's the whole point of Enhanced Edition. You see, it's not that you get anything else really out of this. This is the point of Enhanced Edition. It's built just to showcase the RTX, and that's what it does. And it actually does it pretty well. Also, let's quickly get in front of her so we don't have to listen to her chew our ear off. She just phased through, fair enough.
Look, maybe you should come back to the Order. We'll move to Polis. Dad says he'll arrange a flat for us. Because if not...
A flat for us, how cute. Also, that's a spot you can actually easily get stuck if you're not careful. Right, so here we are. We're gonna have some gunfights here. We're gonna have, I think, 3 or 4 Nasalises attacking us. Some, I think, 2 from here and 2 from here, or 1 from here. Don't remember, it's been a while since I last played it. And honestly, I rewatched my own benchmarks when I was doing them with 1080 Ti and 3070 Ti in 4K with DLSS and DLSS off. And granted, if you don't have a 4070 Ti, which I absolutely agree, I would say leave DLSS alone for now, but just play around with this. Like, literally play around with the shading first. I was kinda right. I mean, the game is much more responsive, obviously because it doesn't need to slow the GPU with all of those high-res textures in every location while handling the ray tracing at the same time. So, and while I'm recording, obviously we're losing a couple frames here, which it's not a big deal, in all things considered. But come on, you cannot say that this does not look good. And performance-wise, there's no stutters, no hiccups, nothing at all. And I'm playing with an i5-96K running stock. So, come on. I've seen guys playing this with like an i7 1300, 13 gen CPUs, and they're kind of pushing the envelope around 60-ish, and I'm like, why? Like, why would you do that? I mean, obviously, 47 TTI is no slouch. It's pretty decent and stuff like this. We're gonna probably get hit by the guy. Oh no, Anna, what have you done? Why are you doing this? It was your idea to stay put and not challenge the pack, but oh well. There's one more. Okay, we should be clear now. Yeah, could have easily avoided this, but oh well.
The zone is off limits. I mean, if all the packs here are like that.
I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't usually make videos like this where I'm telling you to use a certain setting, but this time, after a long time, just stumbled upon some YouTube recommendations, and people are pushing this game, everything ultra, and just kind of getting sub 60, and I'm like, why would you do that if you don't like DLSS? Now, granted, you know, you can do whatever you want. Drop the graphical settings, drop the resolution. You know, in all honesty, at 2K, you can play Enhanced Edition with 47 TTI, no problems, everything cranked. Shading rate times 1, you know, VRS on off, up to you. It's gonna be fine. You're gonna be literally, I would say, around the same ballpark of FPS. But if you're going for 4K, if you're playing on the TV, and you just want to get that little extra frame boost without sacrificing visual fidelity, I would say definitely look into this. And yeah, also, it's been 22 minutes by the time we actually get into the little van. After seeing the train is going to be 25. I'm going to leave you guys to it. Thanks for watching, thanks for sticking around. I hope you learned something new and informative, and I'll see you all next time. Over and out.
Now that's what I call a blizzard. Can't see a thing. Or hear. Let's switch to radios. Artyom, are you seeing this? I'm not just imagining things, right? A train! A damn train on the surface! Where? Shit, what do we do, Artyom? Should we catch up with